Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Path, A Gamer's Guide to Mastery. It's a book that you may or may not have heard of, that I wrote a few years back, that is now being read aloud. Chapter 2 is on perspective. Perspective. Scale and scope of experience. It starts with a quote. Do not let the mind be clouded inside. Keep it broad, and put your wisdom in that broad place. Miyamoto Musashi, Book of Five Rings. Life is difficult, unfair, and unpredictable. Rather than grieve what lies outside your sphere of control, work to gain perspective and take steps toward realistic goals. Appreciate the scale and scope of experience and ask questions of yourself and others to gain a bearing on how to proceed. Scale, relative size of self. You're an individual human being of a growing global population in the age of information. There is a vast knowledge before us, and time is short. When faced with hard problems or complicated games, do some research. Make use of existing solutions that others have spent time and energy to create. Learn from their experience, remix it, and build off this expertise in ways which are uniquely your own. Scope. The relative influence of action. Through language and action, we are able to influence those around us. News travels quickly on the internet, so choose your words carefully. Be aware of how you are influenced by others, and guard against what is counterproductive. Consider the example that your behavior sets in the community. Get better, and help others improve. So the scale and scope here, I'm thinking of in terms of realizing the situation that you're really in, as opposed to how the situation might feel to you. There's a lot of equipment in the human brain that is very intense in how we react and respond to things. It feels like this moment that we're in matters a whole lot. And a lot of times that intensity gets poured into situations that are effectively our leisure time. So with this, I'm encouraging the reader or listener to think about these quests you create for yourself within gaming, such as maybe I want to reach Diamond League in StarCraft, and how that fits into the broader scheme of the world and the era that we're in. This is a unique opportunity to get to pursue mastery in some way that is not your profession. It's for fun. So there should be some lighthearted joy with even having that opportunity, that because we invented agriculture, because we invented before that cooking of food, we have more time. We have the ability to specialize in a lot of different things. So you should have a foundation of gratitude for all the different technology that's involved in the activity you're pursuing, and also just a patience with how difficult it is to master anything. The chapter continues with some useful inquiries. What is my purpose for investing time in this activity? How can I improve the quality of my training sessions? What are my main weaknesses I could work on? Where do I find fulfillment in these experiences? Who can help me improve? How can I give back to the community? And what are the long-term benefits or life lessons of this quest? So, chapter 1 was about purpose. So you would be investigating what is my purpose for pursuing this video game versus that video game, as opposed to maybe using that leisure time to read a book or write your own book. How can I improve the quality of my training sessions? This is a really big one that can be a major edge in growing your skill level compared to other people who might just be massing games. I hear a lot of people who have been in Diamond since Wings of Liberty, and they ladder and ladder and ladder. They play the game plenty. But if they don't think about the quality of that practice session, they're really just maintaining their skill level by continuing to do what they do. All their bad habits, they keep pressing forward with those. The good habits they also continue with, but they end up improving at the same rate as the average diamond player, so they are permanently in diamond. To really create an edge, your practice should be of higher quality than other people at your tier. That's how you become a Masters player. Figuring out the main weaknesses you should work on, I would heavily recommend getting a second pair of eyes to help you with that. When we're looking at our own games, we tend to try and justify the decisions that we made with the knowledge of all the hard work that we put forth in that match. So you feel like because I did X, Y, and Z really well, then that means that A, B, and C shouldn't really matter that much and I still should have won. But if you have a friend or a coach look over your game, they can say, well, this aspect of your play is a glaring weakness and you would do better to just fix that and really put in the effort to work on that. Where do you find fulfillment in these experiences is another really important question. Fulfillment is not the same as fun, per se. Fulfillment is more a completeness where the experience seems worthwhile to you, and it feels like it has enough substance to it that you would repeat it again, even if it's not universally fun. An example I would give is a really intense back and forth macro game. If it's a match that's 30 minutes, some matches in the past got up to an hour or so. If it's that long of a match, you likely made a lot of really cool plays, as did your opponent. Maybe you didn't end up with the win, but if you took 6 bases, 8 bases, you took a bunch of upgrades, you had a really diverse unit composition, and you're dealing heavy damage to your opponent, that's the game. And that's the process of exercising your skill. And you can find fulfillment in that process before the match reaches a conclusion. And that gives you a lot of steam and headway in just getting into the next one because you enjoy the game. Who can help me improve? An example I would give would be a person who wants to advance to the next league should train with people from that league. Just find a Protoss, a Terran, and a Zerg who are one league above you, who are down to practice, and play some custom games with them. Because they're already better than you overall, they can practice a number of different styles, so they can work on maybe mech if they're a primarily bio player and still give you a good run for your money. That way you can work on the matchup as a whole in a way that you're punching up and really trying your best and learning from someone, as opposed to having someone who's perfectly evenly matched and hoping for the most even possible game. By punching up, you can train really effectively. So I would highly recommend people practicing with players better than yourself to improve. How can I give back to the community? I would say this is something that happens with every match you play. A really nice way you can give back to the community is by being respectful and mannered to them in the match you're in that moment. So just the GLHF and GG well played at the end, that goes a long way. People feel respected when you do that. And it feels really good to be respected. And one thing that I always go back to when it comes to respecting people who play the same game as you is how if you met that person at a real life location, say a coffee shop, you would be really excited that they play the same game as you, more than likely. And you would kind of start a friendship with them. Like, oh, cool, you play StarCraft 2. That's not the most popular game these days, but it's the best game, right? And you kind of create a bond in that sense. But if you meet them on the ladder, oftentimes you have that anger about something you're struggling with in the matchup. You feel like they didn't deserve the win as much as you did, and you spew some venom at them when you could just be respectful and make a friend. So giving back to the community doesn't need to be a large-scale project where you host a big tournament or you do a whole bunch of coaching for a bunch of people. You can give back to the community just by being an upstanding member of the community. And then what are the long-term benefits or life lessons of this quest? This connects a little bit with Chapter 1 on purpose. One of the best benefits of pursuing skill in a game is building confidence for yourself. So by virtue of saying, I want to try to be a gold level StarCraft player. I haven't played the game before. I'm starting out as bronze, but I want to try to get gold. If you set a goal and then you reach that goal, you have created a permanent piece of evidence in your mind and in your memory that you can set a goal and achieve it. And it might seem like not that big of a deal, but when you have enemies and different societal challenges like mental illness or depression, where people are unable to believe in themselves, even small stuff like this of setting a goal to reach a league in a game and then achieving that are ways that you can create a counter case sort of to that voice of doubt within your head. The voice of doubt in your head says, you're no good, you're not going to be successful, you can't achieve stuff. The voice of confidence says, no, I actually achieved stuff. It has already happened and it is clearly there. And that gives me confidence to pursue the next goal. So it concludes with, remember the bigger picture of experience. It is a great thing to devote time to improvement of the mind and the direction in its thoughts. Let the broad perspective be the foundation of your mental place. So really having that big picture awareness of, I get to play StarCraft 2, or I get to play Dota 2, or some other game that ends in 2, because our ancestors toiled and developed technologies and improved our situation of living to the point that we can pursue skill in this really nice competitive space. So I start my practice with the perspective of gratitude for all the different factors that led to me being able to do this. Being able to have an internet connection that works, a computer that works, and all this kind of stuff. It gets you in a really positive state of mind, as opposed to one that feels like, well, this game isn't as good as it ought to be, or I'm just going to be echoing a lot of this perspective that I've heard from other streamers, where if a streamer complains about this, then that justifies me complaining about that. In the beginning of the chapter, I said you should be aware of the influences that are coming into you. Not all of those are going to be good. You should be taking what people say on their merits and think about them. People can fall into that mindset of, well, this person said this and they have an audience, therefore what they're saying must be correct. You should evaluate that for yourself. So remember, even when you're gaming, have some perspective. Make sure that you understand on a fundamental level what you're signing up for, why it's awesome, and what you're trying to get out of it. And this is chapter 2 of The Path. Thank you.